In honor of the Academy Awards show this Sunday, tonight, I would like to commemorate the moment 50 years ago that transformed the Oscar telecast into what it is today. A 4-hour lecture on how bad most people have it by the people who rail against privilege, but you avail yourself of the greatest privilege of all, to remain clueless. Dave Chappelle lashed out at me last month because I called him out for saying there was more free speech in Saudi Arabia than here. Well, I was right. What he said was stupid. America has many problems, including free speech issues on both left and right, but we're real different than Saudi Arabia. If you don't believe me, try opening a lesbian art gallery there.
Bill Maher has sparked fresh debate with a series of candid observations that have once again put Hollywood under the microscope. According to Maher, the entertainment industry has played a major role in its own decline, and he argues that many of its current problems are self-inflicted rather than unavoidable. His comments are direct, thought-provoking, and highly critical of the culture that now dominates the business. In this video, we'll examine each of his major points. So, be sure to subscribe, settle in, and let's get started.
I got a Golden Globe nomination for the one I did.
Oh, really?
That's yesterday.
How often do you get nominated for your specials?
Nothing. I used to get nominated for everything,
Yeah.
and then the wokeness came in, and then I was considered conservative. Which
Are you bad?
Ridiculous. So I was what I call soft canceled.
Yeah.
Where you don't
Well, I'm a Bill Clinton liberal, which is from the '90s, which is now called
Me too.
a Nazi.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
You're a white supremacist.
So this is the first time in a while I've been nominated for something.
Okay.
Which I think shows a little bit that we are coming out of the wokeness.
Maher's first major point came during a conversation with guests David Spade and Dana Carvey, where he explained that many people in Hollywood gradually began treating him as though he had become a conservative. He insisted that nothing about his political affiliation had fundamentally changed. Instead, he believes the shift happened because he openly criticized ideas promoted by the far left. According to Maher, simply questioning prevailing opinions was enough to make colleagues increasingly distant. There was no dramatic public controversy or official cancellation. Instead, he noticed fewer invitations, less enthusiasm, and a growing sense that he no longer fit comfortably within the industry's expectations. Maher argued that his real offense was not changing political sides but refusing to follow a single ideological script. In his view, Hollywood often celebrates free expression only when opinions remain within accepted boundaries. Once he challenged those assumptions, he believes he was gradually pushed to the margins, reinforcing his broader criticism of the industry's culture.
It's not one that the woke can watch and not throw up, because I call their shit out and the fact that people are laughing shows that it's funny. When you do stupid things, it's funny, and the left did a lot more stupid things in the last 5 to 10 years. And I'm a comedian. I go where the gold is, and it's hitting the side of a barn to make fun of some of this shit.
Sure, it's too easy.
If you think, I quoted like very esteemed publications like The Atlantic, or saying things like, separating sports by sex doesn't make sense. Well, if that's not of course it does. If anybody can't do 5 minutes on that, or Mr. Beast, who was helping disabled people, and the Washington Post guy was tweeting like, he thinks disability is something that needs to be solved.
Rather than softening his criticism, Maher continued speaking even more openly about what he viewed as Hollywood's contradictions. He devoted a significant portion of one of his recent comedy specials to questioning what he considers excessive political messaging throughout the entertainment industry. While others might have chosen a more cautious approach, Maher embraced the criticism and continued expressing his views without apology. That is why he found later developments especially ironic. After years of feeling overlooked, Hollywood once again recognized him with an award nomination. Maher admitted that he found the situation both amusing and contradictory. The same industry he believes distanced itself from him for speaking honestly now appeared willing to celebrate his work once again. In his view, that reversal raises questions about whether Hollywood's principles remain consistent or simply change when circumstances become more convenient. He eventually attended the event, where his appearance generated even more discussion.
And some reporter asked me why I wasn't wearing a lapel pin for the first Minneapolis shooting a couple of weeks ago, and I said, well, it was a terrible thing that happened, and it shouldn't have happened, and if they didn't act like such thugs, it wouldn't have had to happen, but I don't need to wear a pin about it. Now, please understand, I had no idea this question was coming, and so tonight, I'd like to say that if I had the chance to think about it, my answer would be exactly the same. I hope I didn't spoil the perfect record of pins and ribbons solving all the world's problems.
Maher argues that Hollywood has become increasingly focused on symbolic activism while paying far less attention to practical action. In his opinion, highly visible public gestures have too often replaced meaningful efforts to solve real problems. He questions how symbolic displays at award ceremonies meaningfully address difficult issues facing communities across the country or complicated international conflicts. Maher says his criticism is not directed at the causes themselves, but at what he views as activism centered primarily on appearances. He believes many public displays serve more to reinforce celebrities' public image than to produce lasting results. According to Maher, the industry frequently celebrates itself for drawing attention to important issues before quickly moving on to the next trend without confronting the difficult work genuine solutions require. In his assessment, activism without meaningful action becomes little more than performance, and performance remains one of Hollywood's defining strengths.
A problem from guns to AIDS to bullying to breast cancer that still exists after people wore a ribbon for it. Except all of them. You fucking poser. 3 years ago, everybody was all into Ukrainian flags. What happened to that? Another cause tossed into the junk drawer with yesterday's choke collar? Get out of here with your virtue-signaling body ornaments. They're just crucifixes for liberals. Because every time I see one, I think, Jesus Christ.
Maher also criticized many Hollywood celebrities, arguing that much of their public activism appears driven more by social pressure than by genuine conviction. According to him, trends often spread quickly because few people want to risk standing apart from the crowd. He suggested that some celebrities may publicly support causes without fully understanding the issues involved, simply because everyone else is doing the same. In Maher's opinion, this tendency reveals how superficial much of the industry's activism has become. Rather than encouraging thoughtful discussion or meaningful engagement, it often revolves around maintaining a particular public image. He argues that once activism becomes more about appearances than principles, it gradually loses both credibility and lasting impact.
You know, congratulations for raising awareness. The awareness you really care about, which is how wonderful you are. Ricky Gervais once told the award show crowd, don't use it as a platform to make a political speech. You're in no position to lecture the public about anything. You know nothing about the real world. Of course, this is where celebrities say, how dare you? We're citizens with just as much right to speak out. Agreed, you absolutely do. I'm just saying don't. The opposite effect of what you want.
Maher continued by arguing that this style of highly visible activism has also affected the entertainment industry itself. In his view, many audiences have become increasingly skeptical of celebrities commenting on political and social issues because they see them as disconnected from the realities of everyday life. As a result, Maher believes viewers have become less willing to accept public figures as trusted voices outside their professions. He argues that messages intended to appear compassionate can sometimes come across as condescending when delivered by people whose lifestyles differ dramatically from those of ordinary Americans. Maher also points to what he views as inconsistencies between public messaging and personal lifestyles, suggesting that these contradictions have weakened public confidence. According to him, as trust declines, interest in the industry's movies and television programming also begins to suffer because audiences feel less connected to the people delivering those messages.
Against privilege, but you avail yourself of the greatest privilege of all, to remain clueless. Dave Chappelle lashed out at me last month because I called him out for saying there was more free speech in Saudi Arabia than here. Well, I was right. What he said was stupid. America has many problems, including free speech issues on both left and right, but we're real different than Saudi Arabia. If you don't believe me, try opening a lesbian art gallery there.
Maher also commented on remarks made by Dave Chappelle regarding free speech, specifically criticizing his suggestion that freedom of expression is greater in Saudi Arabia than in the United States. Maher said he found that comparison difficult to understand because the two countries have very different legal systems and approaches to civil liberties. He argued that constitutional protections for speech in the United States make the comparison misleading and suggested that someone with Chappelle's influence should recognize those important distinctions. According to Maher, comments like these contribute to a broader problem in which celebrities are increasingly viewed as unreliable sources of political or intellectual guidance. In his opinion, when well-known public figures make sweeping claims without sufficient context, they risk appearing disconnected from reality rather than thoughtful or persuasive.